Very good. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, September 6, 2022 meeting of the Railroad Transportation Safety District. I will now call the meeting to order. This public hearing involving the City of Lincoln, Lancaster County Railroad Transportation Safety District, commonly referred to as the RTSD, is subject to and adheres to the Nebraska Open Meetings Act. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection and is posted by the entrance to this room. In accordance with Nebraska law, notice of the location and time of this public hearing, together with a summary of the proposed budget statement, was published in the Lincoln Journal-Star newspaper on August 30th, 2022. I would ask that we call the roll.
Edmondson? Powers?
Here.
Beckius? Here. Shore?
Yes.
And Beth?
Here. We'll move on to item number 3, approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
Minutes from our last meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Please call the roll.
Powers?
Yes.
Riggle?
Yes. Yes.
And Beth?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Item number 4, we will review the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget statement.
Good morning. Roger Feigert, representing the RTSD, and Tony Jarina is here as well. On the screen, I do have the budget, simple budget from the RTSD and expenditure report that the RTSD heard and approved in their June meeting. Just as a reminder, that budget had an operating budget of $224,225, a capital budget of $1,000,004 for a total budget of $1,624,225. The numbers you'll hear from HBE in the budget that goes to the state auditor has a significant different set of numbers, but those include the capital improvements and the investments that go on into the future. So, but Tony will go over that very briefly. Just as a reminder for those listening, the board approved that budget. You also approved sending a levy request to the county board for continuing the levy of $0.2217 per $100, and the county board did approve that levy and sent back notification of that approval. They also, in that time frame, the valuation for the county has been set and approved, and using that levy request and using the new valuation, HBE has prepared the budget that is required by this organization to go to the state auditor by the end of the month. So with that, I'll ask Tony to come forward, and we do have that budget. Which page do you want?
Yeah, right there. That's
okay, perfect. Okay.
Hello, I'm Tony Jarina with HBE CPAs. Taking a look at the budget, page 2, you see 3 columns, and the column all the way to the left side is the activity for 2021. Those numbers are actual cash basis numbers for the RTSD for that year. The middle column is for 21-22, and again, that is the actual final numbers for RTSD for that year. And in the right-hand column, we have the adopted budget for 22-23. These revenues are based on what you have approved for real estate taxes, and then any other sources that the RTSD deem as probable coming in for the next year. With the expenditures on line 19, we have the operating expenditures. That number comes from Roger's budget for the year, not including the commission for the county taxes, the real estate taxes that the county keeps. And then under that is on line 20 are the capital improvements that are being budgeted. The number is quite large. It's a lot different than yours because we are building up funds. The RTSD is building up funds to expend in about 2 years or so. And that number will go down when you start spending out the money. So that is the reason for the large number. We have to keep it up there because once you start working, using your lid, going against the lid for your real estate taxes, you have to prove why you have increased lid amounts, and that's for the increase. Now, that number will go down probably in about 3 years because the expenditures for the 33rd and Cornhusker project are going to start what year? In
26, maybe?
26. So it's,
Crossing your fingers.
Yeah. we're
so
all
then
thinkers.
things will change with this budget as those years come around. So.
Congressional help.
And the reason we have to have all this expenditures is because on line 31, this cash reserve amount has to be 50% or less of your operating expenditures. So that's why we have to be budgeting these large dollar amounts here. That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
Back to line 1, that's quite a jump from 9.4 million to 15 million. Just for the record, do you want to?
Yes, that was the increase in the rate, I believe. It's usually 1 year behind is when you start getting the money in for those real estate taxes. That's why it's the big increase in that last year. There was kind of an increase over the last 2 years, but yeah, the main reason is the 22-23. Line 1, beginning balances, takes the big jump is because now it's a full year of the 22217 rate.
Because we did cut the levy rate
Couple
a
years
few
ago.
years ago.
Yeah, the prior year had like half of the old rate and half of the new rate.
Okay.
So this year's the
Plus,
full.
there was a fairly significant valuation increase in that time frame as well.
And expenditures did not materialize, so.
Okay.
It's a big, I
All
guess,
right.
savings,
It's
as you
a
would call it. But
multi-factor explanation. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions for these gentlemen? No?
Thank you.
Seeing none, we will open the mics to public comment. If there's anyone here from the public who would like to comment on the proposed budget, now is your time to do so. A lot of well-dressed people here today. I'm not seeing anyone come forward. We'll close public comment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Motion by Deb, second by Jane. Please call the roll.
Riggle,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and Howard.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. We are adjourned. That will allow us to move on. If you're ready, we will move on, and I will call to order the Tuesday, wait a minute. Let's try again. Tuesday, September 6, 2022 meeting of the Railroad Transportation Safety District. This meeting of the City of Lincoln, Lancaster County Railroad Transportation Safety District, commonly referred to as the RTSD, is subject to and adheres to the Nebraska Open Meetings Act. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection and is posted by the entrance to this room. The RTSD agenda and the materials that are being considered at today's meeting were posted on the RTSD website on August 30th, 2022. The RTSD website is also accessible by links from both the City of Lincoln and Lancaster County official government site. In addition, on August 30th, 2022, the meeting agenda was posted on the bulletin board located in City Hall, first floor, 555 South 10th Street. A copy of the agenda is also available at the entrance to this room. One copy of the meeting agenda and all the materials being considered today are located at the dais, and complete copies of these materials are on file at the RTSD office at 949 West Bond Street, Suite 200. I'm going to dispense with the roll call since we have the same members present as we did for the public hearing. We will move to item number 3, approval of minutes.
I will move approval.
We approved them.
Okay, what am I looking at? I don't, that's what you gave me. All right, I've got the online. We will move on to item number 3, the report of statement of financial activity. Mr. Rhodey, if you'd come forward.
Flexibility is
So,
the key word
so-
of the day.
We're just fine. We're moving in the right direction.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that, Roger.
All right. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ron Rhodey from the Lancaster County Budget and Fiscal Office, and we support the RTSD in their accounting endeavors. So I'm here to present the financial statement as of August 18th, 2022. And as you know, the RTSD operates on a fiscal year, and that fiscal year begins July 1 of every year. So it's important to keep make note of the fact that we're at 13% of the year complete when we pull these numbers as of August 19th, 2022. That gives us time to put together all the information you see. So again, it's broken up into 3 sections as in the past. We'll go through the receipts. That's section 1. Section 2 is disbursements. And then the final section on these financial statements are the cash and investments. So the first thing we'll go through are the receipts. And for fiscal year 23, as of August 19th, we had, for tax receipts, $2.2 million on a budget of $6 million. We didn't have any project cost reimbursements. Some of this, again, is all seasonal. So you'll see when we're back here in 3 months, we'll probably see some changes in these numbers as well, just to note. Investment interest income, we had booked $13,583 on an annual budget of $80,000. That's probably a fairly conservative estimate given the interest rate increases we've seen lately, but we kept the budget fairly conservative. Total receipts are $2,259,823 on a budget of $6,100,000 for the year, or 37% received. The second section is disbursements, commissions, refunds to the state of Nebraska. We had $44,205 on a budget of $118,000 annual. Operating costs, $11,285 on a budget of $108,225. And then the construction project costs of $32,188 on an annual budget of $1.4 million. Total disbursements through August 19th were $87,877. Excuse me, got new glasses, $677 on a budget of $1,624,225. Then moving on to the final section, which is cash and investments. As of August 19th, their ending cash balance was $2,016,711. About a month before we have these meetings, Roger and I and Amy Wilson from the Lancaster County Treasurer, they come together and they decide how much money to move to CDs and money markets. So they're being good stewards of the money there. I mean, we tried to keep some money liquid for projects coming up and for expenditures. So that's why we have about $2 million in cash. And then investment balance is $19,888,357, and that's a mix of CDs and money market accounts that you can see at the bottom, and the details listed there. So that total fund balance is $21,894,700 as of August 19th, 2022. That's the end of the financial statements. Any questions?
Getting 2.85 for one CD.
Yeah, it's going up. Yeah.
Oh.
Way to stay in front of it, Ron. Appreciate that. Yeah.
A lot of credit there goes to Amy Wilson over the treasurer too. I'm glad you folks noticed that. So they try to find good rates there, and the rates are going up.
Well, it's so important. I mean, this is just a massive project, and everybody who's helped get us to this point deserves a lot of credit. And I know there's a lot of work to be done, and we're not getting our shovels sharpened just yet, but we're
Right.
getting a lot closer, and it's going to be vitally important to have this money available when the time comes. So kudos to all of you guys for working so hard on this. Any questions for Ron?
Thank
Would
you.
you like a motion to accept the financial? I will move that we accept the financial report as presented by Mr. Rhodey.
Second.
We have a motion by Deb and a second by Jane to approve the statement of financial activity. Please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Ripple,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
and West.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Ron. Moving on to item number 4. This is consideration of the fiscal year 2021-22 audit.
Tony Doreen is here to present that information.
Tony Drina from HBE CPAs, here to present information on the draft of the financial statements for your 21-22 year. And not some of the things I say are just going to echo what Ron said, is that there are a lot more cash for the year. But let me go through some highlights instead of having you page through a nice long
Yeah.
40
26
whatever,
is our version.
report. So the RTSD received an unmodified opinion, meaning that the RTSD financial statements present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position and changes in financial position for the years presented in this audit report. If you turn to page, pardon me, page 5, we'll have the statement of net position. And in there, the main changes were net assets, which are your assets minus your liabilities, increased approximately $6.8 million from the prior year. On the statement of financial position, you can see the cash has increased about $5.6 million itself, and taxes receivable increased about another $1 million. That's due now to the receivable of the higher rate of taxes that are coming in. So we need to book a receivable, and then you'll have that there. All other accounts on that page there, the statement of net position, really have not changed materially enough. On the next page, we have the statement of activities, which is basically the changes in your net position. And down by construction, we have our total expenditures decreased approximately $440,000 from the prior year. Most of that was a decrease of the construction projects from the prior year. In 21, they were approximately $1 million. Now they're about $534,000. On the plus side, though, your real estate and other taxes, that increased about $2.9 million from the prior year.
Yeah.
That is a reflection of the higher rates that are taking full effect now. All other accounts on this page are pretty consistent with the prior year. Beyond that, we have the notes to the financial statements on pages 10 through 14. We would like you to read those because those should be read in conjunction with the numbers portion of the financial statements. One point I would like to speak about in the notes is that the RTSD does have funds that are committed already for the 33rd and Cornhusker project in the amount of $1.4 million as of the end of the year. And beyond the notes to the financial statements, we have supplementary schedules that we have the budget in, and then we have comparisons of cash, or we have a list of the CDs. We have an analysis of the cash that you have with the county treasurer and your insurance coverage, so you can take a look at those there. When you're taking a look at the budget, the main difference is that the budget revenue came in about $980,000 less than what was budgeted. Actual revenue was, for the real estate taxes, $980 less than what was budgeted, but it's cash numbers, so maybe a little bit too much was budgeted, but that's fine. Other than that, I really do not have a lot to go over on this financial statements. They're still strong, and they're kind of comparative, other than the real estate taxes from the prior years. So, but I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay.
Now, this is a draft. I do not expect any changes. It's just that we're in the final review stages with one of the partners, and it has to go through that because that's what our profession requires. But I do not expect any changes with these financial statements.
With that said, in the past, if there aren't questions, the board has made a motion to accept that draft report as it is, contingent on no changes, and then we would have it on the agenda again in December to affirm and to report back to you if there were any changes.
I move we accept a draft consideration of the 2021-2022 audit.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Jane, a second by Deb to approve the 21-22 audit based on no changes. Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Very good. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 5, report regarding current budget status. Roger?
Forgive me for just a second. The short turnaround time, typically I have all of those. So very briefly, I mean, we went back over the budget. Again, we're just starting into the fiscal year, and these expenses are shown through, as Ron said, through August 19th. So we have spent just a little under $55,500,000 in the operating budget. The majority of that is commissions that go back to the treasurer. In construction projects, just a little over $32,000, a little over $24,000 in miscellaneous engineering, and 33rd and Cornhusker, just under $8,000. So we're really just getting started off on the course of the year. Capital project numbers are down a little bit over the course. Chris will kind of give us an update of where we are on 33rd and Cornhusker, but we've been more in a review period, so there hasn't been a lot of expenditure and time of resources by our consultant in that time frame as we're reviewing. So I would say we're doing fine, and it would just answer any questions you might have about the current budget.
I would say part of the lowered cost that we have, Roger, is attributable to the work you've done with BNSF Railroad and to some degree Union Pacific of staying in front of all the maintenance. You know, you keep we don't allow our crossings to get in bad shape, which can happen. I've seen them. I've been called out to bad crossings. And in Lincoln, we just don't do that. And that's a real tribute to the partnership you've created. I appreciate that. And I think it lowers costs over the long run.
Appreciate that. You may give me too much credit for being able to steer the railroads. They're pretty big and pretty independent, but I do think
you could write books on
Lancaster County
that.
and the city do have a good relationship with BNSF and OPPD and have been working well together.
Very good. Then we need are we approving this report?
No, this is just an update on the
The
report.
update. Any questions for Roger about the status of the current budget? All right, we'll move on to item 6, consideration of 22-23 budget.
I'll ask Tony Jarina to come back up. These are the budget forms that go to the state auditor due the end of the month, and he can quickly touch base on any of that.
Pretty much what we have discussed before in the previous meeting. You are going to get the full amount that the board requested. It's all at the 22217 rate. Any other things of note is that the operating expenses are based on Roger's calculations, and the rest of the monies are being allocated to capital improvements for the year. And of course, we're building up funds for future years here. One thing I do need to note is that we may change one page on this financial or on this budget report. Do you have the calculation?
Yes.
We're looking at page,
This is page 5. In the middle of the page, I put 6 board members, and all 6 approved for the 1% increase Obviously, we'll have to change that to 4, 4, and 4. Other than that, not too much else to talk about. You're getting as much as you can, so.
Okay.
So at this point, yeah, unless you have no questions, would ask for a motion to approve this budget.
Okay, I will move that we approve the proposed 2022-2023 budget with the notation of the 6 members being changed to 4.
Yeah, I'll have another page of this report printed out.
Okay.
I will second that, but I do have a question.
Yeah, please.
So are we going to be voting on the lid limits separately?
The lid limits
Is-
vote was part of the June meeting, and the
Okay.
board approved that 1% additional lid, and those minutes will go with this budget
Okay.
into the state auditor to confirm that.
That's, I
We
had
already
forgotten.
approved it. Good question, Jane. Nice catch.
Good.
All right, so we have a motion by Deb, a second by Jane to approve the 22-23 budget. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
budget is adopted by a vote of 4-0. Item number 7, report of project and crossing updates. Do we have something going on at 33rd and Corn?
We'll ask Chris Humphrey to come up and give us an update of kind of where we are on that project, so, Chris?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Chris Humphrey, project manager for the RTSD for the 33rd and Cornhusker project. And we're still working through some environmental resource evaluations. We are getting very close to having all of those documents complete and then wrapping all that together into a draft environmental document that we will be submitting to FHWA most likely the end of this year, early next year, depending on when we can get those environmental evaluations wrapped up. But the other thing that we have been working on, we've been coordinating with the Corps of Engineers on the Dead Man's Run project, and they are just starting to refine their design. They have a general alignment, but kind of refining their design and then identifying the right-of-way needs associated with that project, because there's several parcels along, I'll say, the east bank of the channel between Cornhusker Highway and 33rd Street that will be impacted by both the channel project and the RTSD project. So most likely early next year, we'll begin discussions between the Corps of Engineer and FHWA and the state of Nebraska on those cumulative right-of-way impacts. There may be an opportunity for this particular project for early right-of-way acquisition. It just kind of depends on when the Corps identifies their right-of-way needs and how those parcels are cumulatively affected of what those decisions would be. And then our exciting news is that we are working with, partnering with the City of Lincoln for a federal grant opportunity. And this is for the Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant Program. So this is a $575 million per year over the next 5-year grant program that's administered by the Federal Railroad Administration, the FRA. And the focus of this particular grant is improving safety and mobility of people and goods, which are the primary objectives of our project. But the secondary elements of this grant, and I'm just going to read this because there's a lot of them, it also aligns very well with our project. The secondary elements of the grant are to align with the President's greenhouse gas reduction goals, promote energy efficiency, support fiscally responsible land use and efficient transportation design, increase climate resilience, support domestic manufacturing, and reduce pollution. So if you recall back when we did the sub-area plan, that's a main component for the fiscally responsible land use. So I think everything that we have done to date, we're very excited about this opportunity. We'll submit it in early October. We will be going after $55 million for this particular grant. So that combined with the $25 million from the state that was based on our MOU, we'll have a combined $80 million in potential federal funds for this project. And that would be offset with the local match. and the railroad's contributions.
So are you writing that grant, or is that?
We are working
Olson?
with our consultants, Olson,
Okay.
and then the city has several people that are very familiar with federal grants, and it's a blessing to have them partner with us and kind of help us through that grant process as well, and submit it on behalf of the RTSD through their SIM number.
Wow.
A letter from your local congressman would be helpful. I might be able to arrange that as part of the grant
We
application.
will be in contact.
Wow, wow.
Would be helpful.
Yeah, that's great timing for this project, and
Yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity, and I think it really aligns with our goals and objectives, and we're hoping to be successful.
well, that's
We ought to
excellent
say the
news.
RTSD is appreciative of the city of Lincoln. It takes a special identification number and an approval process to be able to apply for these grants. It can be extensive and onerous to get that number,
Right.
and the city, through Barb Beyer and the mayor's office, have been very gracious. LTU, Thomas, Liz, and Chris have all agreed to be the co-sponsoring department on the city side for that with the RTSD. So we're very thankful and appreciative of them of being willing to do that for us.
You'll submit in October, and then when do you find out?
I don't think in the grant that they have that identified. We imagine that with the number of submissions that would come in, it's a matter of months. I mean, it'll probably be a while by the time that they go through. These, are pretty significant documents that we submit for the grant opportunity.
Wow.
There was no sunset date on when that money has to be spent, which is a nice set of situation or circumstances because we don't yet have our environmental document. And that 570 plus million, as Chris said, appears to be available every year. So if we're not successful, we will just keep going. And I think we feel optimistic that this kind of project will be met with great favor. NDOT is not applying for anything in this grant, and the city of Lincoln, and as far as I know, Lancaster County is also not applying for any money in this grant. So there's a $120 million cap on any one state out of that 573 million. So again, we're feeling fairly comfortable that we've got a good project, and we might be the only asker in Nebraska for that this upcoming year.
Well, it's just designed, it just sounds designed for projects like 33rd. So
Yes, yeah, we think so.
appreciate that. I guess good news on all fronts there.
Yeah.
Any questions before we move on to item B? Yeah, Jen.
Just a quick clarification. So the grant would be for 55 million from the federal government, and Chris, you had mentioned the state has committed to, was it 20 million?
25 million, and then this grant through the FRA would be 55 million that we would be requesting.
Wow.
Sometimes even though we request 55 million, they might give us something less, but like Roger said, if we're not successful this year, we'll keep on submitting.
So the intent.
That's great.
The money coming from the state that's already committed could be some local money, but it probably is federal aid, so that needed to be subtracted off the 80%. That's why we're asking for the 55.
Do you have any feelers out of Douglas or Omaha or North Platte? I mean, I'm just thinking other places with railroad concentrations.
I do not, but we will be checking on that as we move ahead, I'm sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you, Chris. Item B, Southeast Lincoln Quiet Zone.
We don't have a lot of progress. There is a fair bit of work that's continued on, and that being the case, I asked FHU, our consultant, not to come in and waste their time. We had the diagnostic meetings, if you remember, I think it was May 9th, 10th, and 11th, maybe in there. Since that time, draft minutes have been produced by our consultant, have been reviewed by the city, the RTSD, and we have some initial comments back from BNSF. We have not received comments back yet from OPPD. I expect several weeks or a couple of months yet of back and forth agreeing the minutes
and the necessary and required improvements that are needed at each one of those crossings, it's crucial that those are exact and well done before we can sit down and actually work out cost estimates. And not having good cost estimates, it would not be appropriate to come back to the board and discuss the potential of moving ahead with quiet zones. So maybe an update in December, but it more realistically could be March, at the March board meeting, before we have some better refined numbers to weigh in on.
We could have a lot of different faces by March sitting here.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, we could,
looking
certainly.
around.
But,
Anyway,
I'm not receiving a lot of calls. I guess the one thing I might say, I was going to cover that further down, but I've received a few additional calls from the public frustrated about blocked at a crossing. Their kids were late for school, or I didn't get to a doctor's appointment. I regularly have tried to tell people, if you provide 15 minutes of extra time, the crossing is typically blocked 5 minutes, and then it takes another 3 to 5 minutes for the traffic signals to catch up and traffic get to mowing. But I have been made aware, since the train derailment and the bridge failure just west of 190th Street, and by the way, BNSF and OPPD cleaned that all up and built a brand new bridge in 16 days. I thought that was phenomenal. Still some work and cleanup. But there is continuing work and inspection that OPPD must do on that line between 56th Street on out that way, and that has required a maximum speed limit of 10 miles an hour. So I'm guessing that lower speed limit then also equates to a longer wait time for folks. And we just ask people to please be patient, go early, find a different route. Please don't do anything foolish and cause a crash for themselves. So that's kind of where we are in that.
are you aware, Roger, is the daily train average staying about the same as it was the last time you
Just
measured it?
right at 1.4, 1.5 trains a day. On some weeks, there could be several trains a day, and then we'll go several days without. But it stayed approximately the same.
Okay.
And then if you'll allow, I can just go on into...
But Jane has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jane.
So Roger, thank you for explaining why the trains have slowed down, because, as you know, I'm very sensitive to this issue because I'm on the south side of town, and I was really frustrated this last Friday. It took about 20 minutes of waiting in a backup for it to clear, and this was right at 10 minutes to 8. So I finally got to my meeting at 8:15.
20 minutes earlier.
Right, but that's good to know because I don't think the public knows, because before the derailment, they were supposed to be going, 25 to 30 miles an hour, right?
Maximum 25.
25 through town. And
Right.
so I can see now it explains a lot, like, why is it just creeping along?
And how long will they remain at 10 miles per hour?
Until they've done enough inspection that they can get concurrence in their test reports. They run vehicles up and down, testing the rails and everything. I'm not sure how much longer, but I will
Do you
some
think it's
checking.
worth reaching out to the Journal-Star and asking Margaret maybe to just run a little something in her Wednesday column tomorrow about it?
I think that's a great idea.
Just so,
Yeah.
I've noticed as well, because, I frequent the 56th Street crossing, which is another large crossing, and I've noticed that as well.
What's that?
Do you want to reach out, Jane?
Sure, I can reach out to Margaret.
or-
I got her number.
Or Roger, yeah.
Roger.
Or Roger, probably Roger should.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll do
that's
that.
really-
Okay.
That's a great idea, because I think that helps people plan a little bit better,
It-
knowing that the
And to
trains are
know
going to be
it's temporary.
slow.
And it's good to know there's a reasonable explanation why they're doing this. And they don't like going slow any more than we like.
they
them.
don't?
Quite, they want to get there. When they leave, they want to get there.
We'd like to think they don't like to be ornery, and they're not going slow on purpose, and they're not blowing the horn more than is required by the
Yes.
regulations.
Oh, God.
Well, that's great. I think that is such a good idea, because the public needs to know so that they won't get frustrated and they can give themselves a little extra time.
Yeah. Okay. You
Is
ready
that
for-
all of that, the item B, Roger? Okay, we'll move on to item C, miscellaneous and other railroad work.
Okay, just a quick update. I am still back and forth with Union Pacific on an agreement to remove the railroad tracks on Northwest 12th, just north of the airport entrance. I am just struggling to get them to respond. At the same time, they had changed their agreement to suggest that in the future, the city would have to pay for the entire reinstall price to put the tracks back if the industry wanted them back. And I have asked them not to do that, that as a maximum, it should be a 50-50 cost share, and they needed an estimate. I'm still not hearing. I want to really try to respect the resources that the city has, and I'm sure the city would come to the RTSD asking us to help pay for that in the future. So we're on hold, but still working on that. Earlier in August, the BNSF had come in. We were having a lot of complaints. We had a settlement on the crossing of Pioneers just to the west edge of 9th and 10th Street, or call it Highway 2, there by the grain elevator. That had settled. They came in and did a fairly major repair and lifted those tracks up. And I think that one is riding better at this point. In that same general area, this week, starting Wednesday and Thursday, BNSF will be at the Pioneers Crossing just east of Salt Creek, replacing the panels and repairing the west set of tracks. They did the east set last year, so they'll be in doing that. The city continues to work with the railroad to try to move ahead with the pedestrian improvements across Old Cheney Road, down there from Hunts Drive over into Pioneers Park and the trail. There's still some back and forth on insurance and some of those issues, but the city is still proposing to do that. I mentioned the derailment. I don't think I have any other reports or updates on railroads. Would answer any questions you might have about anything else going on in the area.
Not seeing any. We'll move on to item 8, which has my curiosity aroused, a report of other matters.
Well, that's one of those catch-alls in case something comes up and we don't have it in there. In case there was a report, you don't have any additional report from legal.
Okay.
I will take this time to say, starting Thursday morning, Operation Lifesaver is starting a week-long tour all the way across the state called Whistle Stop Tour, meeting with mayors, governor, county sheriffs, police departments, county boards, emergency services, police and fire, with the whole goal all the way across the state is trying to continue to remind people and educate them on railroad safety and to be careful at the crossings. I will be in Kearney the next 3 days, so I'm not on that tour. But just another really good thing that Operation Lifesaver, and particularly Operation Lifesaver Nebraska, does to try to make things safe for the public and keep that going. So if you go to the Operation Lifesaver website, you can actually find that tour. I printed it off, and I've talked to the city about the possibility of putting that on the RTSD, a link to the RTSD website, as well as a link to the city pages, if we can. And I didn't think about the county, but I can follow up on that and see about doing that. Great. As well. The other thing I will simply mention on report of other matters is at the last board meeting, I believe, the board approved a master agreement for engineering with the city. And there was direction to communicate with the county on similar. That information has been sent to the county. They don't have quite as many interactions with the railroad, and maybe that's not a higher priority. I have not received anything back, but I'll continue to work on that in the future. And with that,
We'll move on to item 9, the National Rail Safety Week.
yes. So, as in years past, we have produced a proclamation for U.S. Rail Safety Week. Unless I forget, there are 6 copies of that proclamation in the council office, and if you would please, assuming you approve declaring this National Rail Safety Week, please sign those for me. But I would read City of Lincoln, Lancaster County Railroad Transportation Safety District Proclamation. I'll pull that up in case anybody is out there watching. Whereas the City of Lincoln and Lancaster County, Nebraska Railroad Transportation Safety District, RTSD, recognizes the importance of railroad safety as across the United States a person or vehicle is hit by a train every 3 hours, and whereas in 2021, 904 people in the United States were killed or injured in vehicle-train collisions, another 1,140 people were killed or injured while walking on or around railroad tracks, and whereas in 2021, 22 people in Nebraska were killed or injured in vehicle-train collisions, and another 14 were killed or injured while walking on or around railroad tracks. And whereas Operation Lifesaver is a nonprofit public safety education aware organization dedicated to reducing collisions, fatalities, and injuries on railroad tracks and at crossings. And whereas Operation Lifesaver, Inc. is collaborating with a coalition of safety advocates to promote railroad safety through the observance of U.S. Rail Safety Week during the week of September 19th through the 25th, 2022. And whereas the RTSD was formed for the purpose of increasing public safety on railroad tracks and crossings throughout the City of Lincoln and Lancaster County, and whereas the RTSD is committed to educating our community about railroad safety, as many accidents on railroad tracks and crossings are preventable, and therefore the RTSD supports the goals of Operation Lifesaver, Inc., as well as the City of Lincoln and Lancaster County, Nebraska. And whereas the Railroad Transportation Safety District encourages all residents of the City of Lincoln and Lancaster County, Nebraska, to educate themselves on railroad safety practices. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of the Railroad Transportation Safety District does hereby proclaim the week of September 19th through the 25th, 2022 as U.S. Rail Safety Week.
I will move approval of the proclamation.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Deb and a second by Jane to approve the proclamation of September 19th through 25th as National Rail Safety Week. Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Motion is approved, 4-0. Number 10, communications and correspondence placed on file.
Don't have anything significant. The only other thing I would say is I have worked with NDOT in the governor's office, and a similar proclamation for U.S. Rail Safety Week is being prepared and will be signed by the governor probably later this week.
Nice.
I don't have anything else.
All right. We'll move on to item 11, non-agenda items, public comments. Is there anyone here wishing to make a public comment at this time?
I will move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Deb, second by Jane to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Motion carries 4-0. We are adjourned.
Yay.
Well
Thank
done.
you to the county board for being